At midnight, Emo Shanghua raised her head and cried out in great pain. Something suddenly slipped out of her body. Her nerves were weak at this time, and her head fell back on the pillow, unconscious. In a trance, she seemed to hear Wenpa holding her child and asking for a reward with a smile. "Congratulations, master, you are 1,000 gold. Well, let's call it Cloud Dance." The man looked at the child in Wenpa's hand, a little disappointed. "Congratulations, little Prince Yushue is lovely and very similar to the princess." Wenpa holds the child who has been washed clean and comes to Yen Beiqing with a happy face. Yen North City turned him out to see one eye, then the vision falls back to at the moment sleepy don't wake up of Emo Shanghua body, voice hoarse, "Take down first, let the nurse look at." Wenpa didn't expect that Yen Beiqing didn't have such a cold attitude, and she couldn't believe it. Qinya, with her red and swollen eyes, went forward to look at the child and took out a heavy purse from her arms. "It's hard for Mammy. The nurse is in the room over there. I'll take you there." Emo Shanghua has finished production, and the house has been tidied up. Lu Zheng, who has been guarding the door, is able to come in. After helping Emo Shanghua pass the pulse, he says, "She's just over-consumed. Take a rest and she'll wake up soon." Said, "I have ordered people to boil medicine first. She has no other disease, you don't have to worry too much." Yen Beiqing didn't open his mouth. He just nodded slightly. He held the hand of Emo Shanghua in both hands. He refused to let go. The blood of Yutong didn't dissipate, but it became more and more. Now there was a green shadow. "You've had it all day and night. If you don't take a rest first, she won't wake up for a moment." Seeing this, Lu Zheng gently comforted him. Yen Beiqing is silent, eyes always fixed on the pale face of flowers on the street. Emo Shanghua, who was asleep, seemed to feel Yen Beiqing's worry. Her eyebrows frowned slightly, her lips opened slightly, and she said, "Cloud Dance." Lu Zheng couldn't really hear it. He just looked at Yen Beiqing helplessly. "Let me see how the medicine is boiled first." Then he retreated. At that time, Yen Beiqing, whose face was the same, suddenly crossed the dark color in his eyes and drew his ears closer. The fashion of Emo Shanghua is sleeping, but it has been unconsciously whispering, "Cloud Dance, where are you? Cloud Dance." Yen Beiqing's face has completely changed. His quiet eyes are like ink, and slowly spread a very deep and unpredictable ink. He looked at the flowers on the street for a long time, and suddenly raised his right hand. There was no Dharma seal in his hand, but it slowly condensed a layer of pale gold light. Then he slowly put his hand on her forehead, and the pale golden light magnified a circle. But in a moment, the flower on the street was quiet again, and he closed his eyes and fell asleep. The light in Yen Beiqing's palm dissipated, and he held her hand again. There was a bit of fatigue between her eyebrows and eyes. "Emma, it's not that I don't want you to miss you, but now is not the time. When the time comes, I will accompany you to look for it." Said, he bowed his head, extremely gentle on the white forehead of the flower gently kiss. After a full day's sleep, Emo Shanghua woke up. The pain on her body had completely disappeared, and her stomach was shriveled, but her chest was heavy, as if she was oppressed by something. Shi Lo Mao sees past, was originally carelessly fell asleep Yen Beiqing. Emo Shanghua raised his hand and gently stroked his forehead and hair, and his lips began to smile. Yen Beiqing seemed very tired. He didn't wake up by her actions. He still fell asleep quietly, breathing steadily and evenly. Qinya also fell asleep on the table beside her. The flower on the street didn't make a sound, but she seemed to have a sense of what it was like to wake up. Seeing that the flower on the street had already woken up, she suddenly woke up completely. "Princess, you are awake. I'm worried about you." Although Qin Yaping is also a person with delicate mind, the surprise at this time makes her completely forget Yen Beiqing, who is still sleeping. Therefore, Yen Beiqing suddenly woke up, and a pair of bloody faces suddenly appeared in front of the flowers on the street. Emo Shanghua caresses Yen Beiqing's eyebrows, and his voice is also hoarse. "How can you become like this?" However, one day and one night, Yen Beiqing's eyes were full of blood, his chin was covered with black stubble, and his hair was messy, as if he were a despondent king. Why on earth did he become like this? If you know who you are, you will feel even worse. Yen Beicheng pulled out a smile, gently grabbed her hand, gently kiss. You do not wake up, I will not have a moment to be at ease. Qinya has also been working hard these 2 days. Yen Beicheng is depressed about Mo Shanghua, and she doesn't want to leave for a moment. Naturally, she wants the maid Wenpa to take care of Mo Shanghua. She is also very tired at the moment. Mo Ling has been guarding the outer room, now also came in, said, since the princess wakes up, then Qinya will go back with me to have a rest. Qinya nodded. She was so tired that she said with a smile to the flower in the street, the Lord hasn't left you for a moment these days. Finish saying, then quickly carrying to skirt to go out with Mo Ling together. One is knowing that Mo Shanghua and Yen Beicheng must have a lot to say at the moment. The other is that she is really tired. Qin Lin is in the military camp. He wants to come in to have a look at the latest news, but Qin Yigang turns him out as soon as he comes out and asks him to wait for his child to come at the full moon. At that time, there were only 2 people in the house, Yen Beicheng and Mo Shanghua. Mo Shanghua was distressed by Yen Beicheng. She touched her flat abdomen with the other hand and said, where's the child? Is it a boy or a girl? As soon as I wake up, I think about my children. Yen North City full of resentment glanced at the flowers on the street, but still raised his voice. Come on, bring the child in. Qinya is not there. There are other maidservants outside the door. After a while, the nurse will hold the baby in her arms. Under the guidance of Wenpa, Mo Shanghua hugs the child. The child in her arms is tightly wrapped and shows a little red face. Her hand is bigger than before. Now she sleeps soundly with her eyes closed. She can't see whether it is beautiful or ugly. Clearly still can't see the beauty and ugliness, but the nanny said with a smile, the little son is born more like a princess, and he must be a handsome young man in the future. Yen North City lightly hums it, quite discontented. No matter who Xiao looks like, toss her mother like this. In the future I want to drill him well. Mo Shanghua was holding the child in her arms. Her eyebrows and eyes were soft, and her lips were smiling. I thought it would be a daughter, but I didn't expect it to be such a tossing boy. By the way, have you ever thought of a name? Well, I thought about that a few months ago. Although the child was in great pain, Yen Beicheng looked forward to the child with their blood and bone from the bottom of his heart and said, it's called Sizhou. What do you think? Yen Sizhou? The flower on the street drooped her eyes and whispered softly. Looking at the child sleeping sweetly in her arms, the corner of her lip involuntarily gently pulled up. Okay, that's what you said, it's called Sizhou. Seeing that the eyebrows on the street are so gentle, Yen Beicheng can't help but gather around and look at Yen Sizhou together. The little man seemed to feel the deep love and concern of his parents. At this time, he fell asleep and opened his eyes. His obsidian eyes rolled and his mouth grinned. Yen North City, originally intended to plate up the face, also showed a smile. 2 nights a day did not sleep, army ant swept away. Mo's son, you see, this child's mouth eyes like you. Just now also a pair of unwilling to see a second more appearance. How now say the words also with nanny as irrelevant. The flowers on the street are funny and speechless. Soon they are attracted by the little boat in their arms. They just look at them and love them. They will never let go again. Shortly after Bayarongdi's death, banquets are not allowed in the city for half a year. Therefore, Xiaosiz's full moon ceremony only invites 2 people's friends. Mo Shanghua is a person who can't stay idle. I'm afraid that an ordinary woman even has to lie on the bed at this time, but she got down early. Now she is sitting in the hall with her child in her arms. The cool color between her eyebrows and eyes has completely faded, and her eyes are full of soft smile. Xiao Sizhou is now full term. She is not red and white. She is very fat and white. Her face is less than the size of a palm, and her flesh is almost down to her chin. Her eyes are dark, smart, and good-looking. Ordinary children are not sensible at this time. When others hold them, they will cry. This little boat is a good-natured child. When someone wants to hold them, they all grin and smile happily, which is very attractive. Hui Qianliu and Nanhe received the news as early as when they were about to give birth in Moshang. They just came back from Xinguo recently. At this time, the South Crane learned the appearance of flowers on the street, carefully holding the small boat, like two eyes are about to bubble. Too cute, you see, he saw everyone smile. Let me see. Flower Willow smell speech, also quite interested to come forward to have a look. Zayasizu seems to have made sense. When she saw the flowers and willows, she was more happy with her smile. The meat on her cheeks was piled together, which was very lovely. Hua Qianlu took the folding fan away from his waist, stretched out his hand to the South Crane, and said, "You see, he obviously likes me better. Let me hug you." Nanhe took a look at Mo Shanghua. Before Mo Shanghua spoke, Yan Beiqing patted his hand directly. He said coldly, "If you want to hold me, I will give birth to one." Flower Thousand Willow curled his lips, extremely discontented of shout, "I say North City elder brother, how you so stingy, others all hold, why can't hold?" South Crane lifted Mao to stare to spend 1,000 willows one eye, reproach away, "You so unsteady, in case fell child again how?" Hua Qianlu is very unconvinced. He thinks that he can hold a child without looking at it. But he says, "I just want to hold a child. Can I still hold a 7-foot man?" On this matter, Yan Beiqing has a strong say. At the beginning, he began to think of flowers and willows, but later he tried to hold them, but no matter how he held them, Zayasizu would laugh when he saw people, but he was crying bitterly in his arms, and was rejected by many strangers. However, he was determined not to admit it, so he directly dragged Hua Qianlu to one side. "A group of women's affairs, you 7-foot men join in the fun, go quickly." Mo Lingqin and Lin Lujing looked at each other and followed. It's not good for them to stay here for a long time. South Crane and hold teas for a while, then returned to Mo Shanghua, exclaimed, "You really are good luck, even the children are so lovely." Qinya is very proud to pick eyebrows, as if he is the child's mother in general. "That's natural, our little son with the princess, the body can be worried about it." Xiao Xizhou seemed to understand Qinya's words. He was so excited that he stretched out his little fist and waved it in the air. The meat on his arm trembled. The flower hearts on the street all seemed to melt in general, and the cool eyebrows and eyes softened down because of the child. He says with a smile, "No matter who you are always lovely. I also like it very much." Qinya also laughed and teased, "Anyway, this little boat will grow up in the future, and it must be a small evil that will bring disaster to the country and the people." As he teased, then he raised his head and said, "Look what you said, it's like you were born. If not, would you like to have a baby earlier?" Qinya flushed with a smile and stamped her feet angrily, "You're talking nonsense again. You wait, I will tear your mouth." Then he rolled his sleeve and came forward. The South Crane slightly raised the chin, "Pretty light pick, are you sure?" Qinya swallowed her saliva silently. Before she spoke, the flower on the street released a hand and pulled her arm down. She said solemnly, "Those who know current affairs are heroes." Qinya hurriedly Shuanpazayalv, hummed and hid toward the flowers on the street. "I don't have the same opinion with you." There is a harmonious and relaxed atmosphere in the hall. The Empress Dowager arrives. The shrill voice of the maid suddenly rings out. Mo Shanghua gives the baby to the nurse for the time being and goes out of the hall to greet Yan Beiqing and others. Today's Empress Dowager is naturally the former lady, Empress Dowager Wan Fu Jinan. All the people cried out. After Shufei became the Empress Dowager, Yan Zhenxuan was extremely filial to her and naturally led a smooth life. However, she was still an easygoing and dignified person in the past and did not think highly of herself. All of them are flat. The mourners are here today to celebrate. They don't have to be restrained. The Empress Dowager was smiling, and her attitude towards the people was very peaceful. All of them got up, and the nurse also came to the Empress Dowager with Zayasizu in her arms. Unexpectedly, the Empress Dowager hugged her baby in person. She looked at the white and chubby little boat in her arms and loved it from the bottom of her heart. Her eyes and eyebrows were all smiling. "This little guy is really cute, but he has been wronged, and the New Year's feast can't be held wantonly. The flower on the street led her lips to smile and said, "It's enough to have 3 or 5 good friends and all the relatives and neighbors like now. In this imperial city, even if it is a big operation, it invites more than half of the courtiers to come. Even if it is a beautiful city, it has to do everything to be complacent. Isn't it rather tiring and vexing?" The rest are not as comfortable as they are. Yan Beiqing obviously had the same idea, but Xu Fei was also an outsider in front of him. She didn't get close to him, so she didn't interrupt. The Empress Dowager held Xia Sizu and teased him for a while. She put a pair of red gold Kirin 100-year-old bracelets on his little wrist. Then she handed the baby back to the nanny and said with a smile, "This is a gift from the AI family. The emperor is busy with government affairs and can't come, so his gift will be sent by the AI family." Then he took a pair of red gold and jade inlaid rui from the female official behind him. The emperor hoped that Xia Sizu would have all the best in the future and be safe all the year round. Yan Beiqing took it on behalf of him and bowed his head slightly. "Thank you for your kindness. No need to be polite." The Empress Dowager was just as easygoing to Yan Beiqing. "I don't know when you're going to get up and go to the vassal area for such a small boat." In the past 6 months, other vassals have been going to the vassal area one after another. Yan Zhenxuan is gentle and magnanimous. Even King Yan, who was demoted to be the princess, has been pardoned and allowed to go to the vassal area. Now the only vassal who had not set out for the vassal area was Yan Beiqing and his wife. The Empress Dowager didn't say this out of malice. Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing looked at each other and said, "I have already discussed with the Lord. After the Dragon Boat Festival, I will leave for Yuzhou." "You don't have to go back to Yuzhou." No one thought that the Empress Dowager would answer like this. Everyone was surprised but did not think. The Empress Dowager just a meal after a moment and then said, "King Yan had a conspiracy, the emperor punished Yuzhou to him. As for you, go to Huayang. The title remains unchanged, still known as King Yu." Huayang? Huayang is located in the south of the Yangtze River. Although it is not as rich as the south of the Yangtze River, it is also a peaceful and rich place, which is many times better than Yuzhou. However, if so, Mo Shanghua Yan Beiqing's previous business in Yuzhou would have to start all over again. Yan Beiqing and Mo Shanghua looked at each other, then bowed down and said, "Thank you for your kindness." The Empress Dowager went up to help them and told them something about Huayang. She left them all the time on the pretext that everything in the palace was complicated. With the good news brought by the Empress Dowager, everyone was happy for the flowers on the street in Yanbei City, not limited to men and women. They directly set up a big round table, sat down together, drank and laughed. This full moon banquet is not a big event, but for Xia Sizu, it is the best to have the blessing of her parents, friends and relatives. Even Mo Shanghua in Yanbei City drank 2 more cups today, all of which were slightly drunk. Yan Beiqing walked a little wobbly. He simply leaned half of his body against Yan Beiqing's arms and walked very hard. Although Yan Beiqing had never drunk in front of Mo Shanghua, his drinking capacity was excellent. At present, his consciousness was clear, his eyes were bright, and he didn't look half drunk. Mo Shanghua staggered against his arms and took 2 steps. He directly picked her up and took her back to the room. "Qinya has drunk too much wine today, so she can't come to serve her." Yan Beiqing combs her and puts her on the bed. The drunken flowers on the street are not as cool as they used to be. Their cheeks are white and red, and their bodies smell of wine. Now they are sleeping sweetly with their eyes closed. Yan Beiqing's playful heart is dead. She can't help raising her hand and gently touching her upper eyelashes, which are just like the flowers on the street. Her long eyelashes quiver and her ruddy lips pout. Light aroma of wine, Yanbei City will be quietly. Jean was pulled up. In this way she had only one eye. Yan Beiqing pursed his lips, turned his back and slept with the flowers on the street. It's hard to sleep all night. In the middle of the night, when I was sleeping, I was always honest and clever. Suddenly I kicked the quilt and woke up. Yan Beiqing turned around in the middle of the night, and just fell asleep. He was awakened by her movements. He looked at her dimly with green shadows in his eyes. What's the matter? But is it hot? Most of the time in the middle of the night, Mo Shanghua sat upright on the bed, the quilt kicked to the foot. At the moment, she seems to have sobered up and also seems to be unconscious. Her eyes are staring at the foot of the bed, and she suddenly says, "Where's the boat?" Yan Beiqing sobered up, covered his tired and aching head, and said, "I think the boat is naturally with the nurse." "Good, it's time to go to bed." Say, stretch out one's hand to then take the flower on the Mo into oneself bosom. But Mo Shanghua got up from his arms and lay on the bed. She was flustered and lost her calm. "I just dreamt that the boat was gone." Yan Beiqing endured sleepy, a hand gently rubbed her forehead, low voice way, "I just saw, think boat is very good, who's sweet, also did not cry." As soon as the voice fell, a baby's cry came from far and near. Then, the nurse's voice was full of melancholy, "Princes and concubines, the little prince is crying more than ever, and the maidservant can't coax him well." Mo Shanghua immediately sat up, got up and went to open the door to tell Xiao Xizhou to come. Knowing that she was still sober, Yan Beiqing did not dare to let her hold the baby. He quickly got up with a headache and carried the boat in. Xiaosizhu is still discontented when he is held by Yan Beiqing. He weeps pitifully with his little mouth. His dark eyes are always staring at the flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua seems to be awake a lot. She raises her hand and hugs Xiao Xizhou with a soft voice. As soon as Xiao Xizhou arrived in her arms, she wanted to have milk. She drank wine. How could she feed it? Yan Beiqing had no choice but to have a headache and hold Xiaosizhu. Xiaosizhu, who was always clever, cried for half an hour. Finally, he would not sleep until he was held by a stranger. After tossing about for nearly a night, Yanbei City had a full sleep for the first time, and only woke up the next day. Mo Shanghua is already sober. She probably remembers something about yesterday and gets up early to practice and eat. Only when Yan Beiqing wakes up, she brings lunch to make amends. However, she never showed weakness in front of Yan Beiqing. At the moment, she didn't know how to coax him. She just gave him food and said, "Come on, have a meal." Yanbei City now green shadow is particularly thick. Now looking at someone's so perfunctory attitude, snort, put down the chopsticks. Mo Shanghua looked at him with a puzzled look and frowned. "You haven't eaten since morning. Aren't you hungry?" Yan Beiqing was almost killed by the strange words. He could not help but said, "Of course I'm hungry. I just have a headache from my husband. I don't have the strength to carry chopsticks." Mo Shanghua turned to ask Qinya for a spoon and put it in the bowl in front of him. "In this case, use the spoon first. Don't worry, you just have too little sleep. After lunch, you can sleep for a while." Yan Beiqing, having such a considerate and skilled woman really makes him have no right to pretend to be ill. Yan Beiqing simply abandoned himself and picked up the spoon with a sad look on his face. As he ate it he sighed. Mo Shanghua stopped chopsticks and reached for his hand. "If you have any discomfort, I'll help you to have a look." Yan Beiqing immediately covered his chest. His face was full of grievances. "Because my husband was so wronged yesterday, but no one was considerate this morning, and I felt sick. Only then did I lose my appetite and feel powerless." Mo Shang spent a second seriously feeling for Yan Beiqing. After hearing what he said, he finally understood how it was the same thing, and his lips could not help twitching. It turns out that he dislikes her as a wife? Mo Shanghua looked down and thought for a moment, then picked up the chopsticks beside Yan Beiqing and personally brought the food to his lips. "Have a taste." Yan Beiqing was so satisfied that he opened his mouth and ate the vegetables without looking. Then he pointed to another meal on the table. Mo Shanghua put down his chopsticks and stood up. "We're going to Huaiyang in a few days. The Princess of Nan left for Yuzhou 3 days ago. There are still many things to take care of. You can use them yourself. We'll discuss them together when we have a good meal. After all, she has lived in Yuzhou for half a year, and many shops and some capable people are there. She must deal with it as soon as possible." When she thought of it, she felt very busy today. She could not even take care of Xiaosizhu. Yan Beiqing immediately wanted to cry without tears, but he didn't care what he had just said. He quickly put a few mouthfuls in his mouth, and then he went out to deal with it with Mo Shanghua. Make a little trouble for a while, and you can't leave half of the business to be dealt with, let alone let the stranger take care of it. Yuzhou is located in a remote area. It is not easy to withdraw all the things there and move them to Huayang, which is located in the south of the imperial city. After a long discussion with Mo Shanghua in Yanbei City, most of the things in Yuzhou remained unchanged, and only temporarily transferred some important deployment to a more secret place, and some of the effective personnel were also transferred back to Huayang to settle down first. In this way, when they went to Huayang in the future, they could also save a lot of trouble. To go to a new fiefdom, there must always be a palace regulated by vassals ready in advance. Fortunately, Huayang had vassals in charge many years ago, but there was a palace with perfect regulations. Yanbei City ordered people to repair it in advance. At that time, it was about 3 months before the Dragon Boat Festival. When everything was ready, they could go directly. As a new emperor, Yan Zhenxuan was very generous. He specially sewed a lot of money for them to repair the Huayang Palace and spend all the time on the road. Mo Jiang is now a capable general of Yanbeiqing. However, the fact that he is the adopted son of Prince Lian has been revealed, and he is in charge of the imperial army. Naturally, he can't live without the imperial city for the time being. Yanbeiqing simply asked Qin Lin to come over and took him to experience day by day. He was very strict in his means. He even taught Qin Lin how to read and write all the time and intended to cultivate him. But since then, he has been very busy every day and has no time to go out. The advantage of doing so is to let Mo Ling and Qinya relax. Yanbeiqing looked at it and pretended not to know. After telling Qin Lin what to train every day, he went back to the mansion to accompany Mo Shanghua and Xiao Xizhou, and helped Mo Ling. Although Zayasizu is obedient, he is a child. He will cry after a long time away from Huanbeiqing. Every day, except when dealing with important matters, I can't take it with me. Other times, I try my best to take Zayasizu with me. Yanbeiqing often comes back to accompany me. Time flies, 3 years pass in a hurry. Yanbeiqing and Mo Shanghua arrived in Huayang 2.5 years ago. Now 3 years later, everything in Huayang has been stable. After 3 years of Baorong Emperor's funeral, Qinya and Mo Ling got married quickly. However, they still insist on serving Yanbeiqing, who is a stranger. Neither of them wants to leave. Mo Shanghua has no choice but to return Qinya's contract to her, recognize her as a righteous sister, and give her a decent identity to marry Mo Ling. As for Mo Ling, he was the most effective dark guard in Yanbei City, and Yanbei City didn't want to see him detained all the time. When he arrived in Huayang, he sent him to the military camp. Although Mo Ling spoke little, like a log, he stayed with Yanbeiqing for many years. Under the influence of his eyes, his tactics and martial arts were much better than those of Qin Lin, a halfway monk. On the contrary, he soon made war achievements and was canonized as a general. Qinya also worked hard and became a general's wife. Qin Lin is a little bit dull. He has been learning for so many years. However, he has such talent and is not outstanding. He has always been a deputy general. As for Joaquin Liuna, he has covered almost every corner of the whole mainland in the past 3 years. Now he has settled down in Huayang for the time being, and is preparing for the wedding recently. Today's Zayasizu is 2.5 years old, often holding the arm of Mo Shanghua and yelling, "Mother, hold." With the growth of age, Zayasizu's delicate face has gradually opened up, a pair of round eyes like obsidian, dark and shiny, small nose, small mouth, small face is thinner than that of the full moon Su. You can see the sharp outline of the mandible, very delicate and lovely. Xiao Xizhou was quite precocious. Today, I don't know why. He dragged the baby's fat cheeks and frowned. I don't know what he was thinking. Mo Shanghua happened to come out of the house and saw Xiao Xizhou. He couldn't help but smile. He didn't hurry to ask him to get up and sat down on the steps beside him with him. Why? Zayasizu has something on his mind now. Mo Shanghua smiles and asks curiously. Small think boat this just startled to feel the flower on the road to come, go just shrivel of shout, mother? Obviously is a boy, but this soft glutinous children's voice, but directly on the flower's heart softened. She will sit next to Zayasuzu and touch his hairy head with one hand. The hair of a child is no more soft than that of an adult. Zayasuzu, what are you thinking? Xiao Sizhou had been used to his mother's abuse for a long time. He didn't brush it off and said in distress, "Mother, I always dream these days." People will dream. Your parents often dream, and your nanny will dream. For 3 years, she has already formed a way to get along with Zayasuzu. As long as she is facing Zayasuzu, she is very patient and gentle. But I dreamed about my sister. Zayasuzu frowned bitterly and looked up at the flowers on the street. But mother, I don't have a sister. I don't know why there will be a sister in my dream. For 3-year-old Xiao Sizhou, such a thing still falls into the category of incomprehension. But I don't know why. Emo Shanghua had a strange feeling in her heart. She pondered for a moment and asked softly, "What sister? Is Sizhou willing to talk to his mother?" Zayasuzu looked up at a delicate little face that was not big enough to palm. He looked at the flowers on the street seriously and said, "It looks very similar to his mother. It's very good-looking." After a pause, his small nose wrinkled, and his eyes showed some grievances. "But my sister didn't talk to me and she couldn't hear me when I called her. When I woke up there was no more." Emo Shanghua wanted to say something, but I don't know why. As soon as she thought about it, she felt a headache. In front of her, Xiao Sizhou was waiting for her answer. She didn't think much and said, "Silly boy, you have no elder sister. It's just a dream." "What elder sister is not elder sister, but my son is talking nonsense again." Just then, the voice of Qinya, who had become the general's wife, came. Emo Shanghua took Xiao Sizhou's chubby little hand and stood up. "The North City is not for Emo Ling to rest for half a month. Your newlyweds will come back from time to time. Don't you want to hang up your little husband? It has been 3 years. Qinya's pretty face is still as thin-skinned as before. She can't help but blush. If you still miss your concubine, you're really hanging out. You're the biggest culprit." At the moment, Zayasuzu put aside his worries and grinned at Qinya with a small grin. Qinya's pretty face was a little black. She squatted down and gently held the tender little face of Xiao Sizhou. They all said to call sister, not aunt. Zayasuzu was very young, but he didn't dodge. Since his back was straight, he opened his mouth seriously. "My father said that you can't bend your majesty, but you can't move your poverty. Anya is a teenager older than me. It's against the rules to call my sister." The front words are indeed from Yenbei sect, but the back words are. Qinya has a pretty black face and bites her teeth angrily. It must be from Nanha sect. Nanhe and Qinya have been not dealing with each other for a long time. They always have to fight each other several times when they meet. When Nanhe came back to Huayang half a year ago, he often came to the palace. If he hadn't been busy with his marriage recently, he would have come here a long time ago. Because of the marriage, Qinya and Nanhe often come to the palace at the wrong time. Naturally, they haven't met each other, which makes Nanhe have an opportunity. He was watching the fun in the street, but when he looked at such a precocious son, he could not help frowning. At such a young age, he would be like his father. What should he do in the future? Zayasuzu is just a little girl now. She is young and mature. She doesn't look as cheerful as a child of this age. It makes her headache. Qinya nodded with approval, then shook her head again and said, "It's clear that the South Crane's teaching has damaged Zayasuzu. Aunt Nanha didn't have it." I didn't expect that Xiao Sizhou was very dissatisfied with the correction. I heard the same word, aunt, from the mouth of Suzuku. When Qin Yaten was smiling, he was overjoyed. "Yes, your Aunt Nanha teaches well. We should learn more from her in the future." Zayasuzu stares at Qinya, and his nose is wrinkled again. He turns his head in doubt. "Mother, Aunt Qinya wishes Aunt Nanha in her dream. Why do you like this?" Emo Shanghua squats down and caresses his hairy head. He just wants to explain, but his eyes suddenly coagulate. "What do you say in the dream?" Zayasizu looked at the flowers in the street strangely, with a baby's fat face on his head, and said seriously, "It's Aunt Chinya's dream." This next Imshanghua is Chinya also shocked stare big eyes, a face can't believe looking at small think boat. How do you know I dreamt of South Crane married yesterday? Mo Shanghua's face became more and more dignified. She put her hands on Si Zhou's small shoulder and said, "Si Zhou, tell my mother, how can you know what happened in Aunt Chinya's dream?" I didn't expect that Zayasizu had a natural look on her face, and she didn't understand the behavior of flowers on the street. "I can see it." After a pause, his dark eyes fixed on the beautiful face of the stranger and said, "But I can't see my mother. She's a liar. You just said you would dream, but there's nothing." The frown on the street is twisted again. She doesn't understand the current situation of Zayasizu. She had several dreams yesterday. Why can't Zayasizu see through Chinya? Chinya's mouth can't be closed. Zayasizu was deeply confused about this, and her face was almost twisted. Mo Shanghua thinks about it again, and finally decides to suppress it for the time being. He wanted to mention it to Yen Beiqing, but after thinking about it, he decides to observe first. Zayasizu is already 3 years old. Yen Beiqing has taken him out to sleep by himself this year, but Mo Shanghua still takes Zayasizu over that night and is ready to quietly observe if his son is different at night. It happened that the Mid-Autumn Festival was approaching at that time, and Yenbei City had many affairs. He came back quite late these days, and Zayasizu always went to bed early. Therefore, today, he was accompanied only by flowers on the street. With my mother beside me, I can sleep faster and more peacefully. Mo Shanghua has been guarding not to sleep, to the afternoon has been some cannot endure, holding a small boat, eyes have been uncontrollable squint up. At this time, the little man in his arms suddenly became hot, like a small stove, very hot. Just had Sleepy on the street flower suddenly wake up, immediately raised his hand to explore his son's forehead, start really is the same hot. But after the flower had passed the pulse again, the pulse was the slightest strange, even on the face did not rise, the slightest blush caused by fever. Mo Shanghua quickly gets up and lights the candlestick, gently shakes the boat, and says in a soft voice, "Boat, boat." With a more anxious voice, she is completely flustered. As 2 peas in the past 3 years ago, Shaoxi boat has been back to the witch nationality. No one can save them at the moment. Thinking of Yen Beiqing's coma in those days, Mo Shanghua's hands trembled and he simply hugged Shaoxi Zhou. Did not think, small think boat unexpectedly what strange also have no, just blinked, and then opened his eyes, a blank face looking at the flowers, the temperature on the body in an instant fade down. Just, he sleepy eyes hazy open eyes, actually looking at the flower nuan mouth. "Sister, you found me." In a twinkling, the flowers on the street have a splitting headache. As if there was an iron cone trying to open her brain, the fragmentary memories slowly poured into her brain along the crack, which made her brain ache. She tried to control herself and put Zayasizu back on the bed smoothly, while she suddenly fell to the ground, her hands tightly covering her head, full of pain. Headache, then at any time to pain hundreds of times, then the time of childbirth more painful grinding people. Under such circumstances, her hands and feet were almost uncontrollable, and one of them overturned the candlestick and fell on the bed. The soft bedding was ignited in an instant and burned slowly along a corner. Zayasizu almost instantly reacted and jumped down from the bed. He looked at the bed that had been lit, and at the flowers that were lying on the ground in agony. The little man made a choice in his mind. He climbed to the table and poured tea on the bed with teapot in his hands. Even if the fire was extinguished in an instant, there was no trace. Then he walked to Mo Shanghua with short legs and said, "Mother, what's the matter with you, mother?" Mo Shanghua suddenly got up from the ground with great effort and stumbled to a corner of the middle room. He rummaged around and took out a wooden box. Regardless of the thick dust on the wooden box, she held it directly and opened it slowly with shaking hands. As soon as the wooden box opened, a sharp white light suddenly lit up, illuminating the whole holiday. Zayasizu covered his eyes and sat on the ground as if he had been pushed by some force. And Mo Shanghua, In the eye light touched the white light of the moment, the eye cluster ran across a very bright light, and then the body as soft, fell on the ground. His head seemed to stop suddenly, his mind gradually floated and fell into a dark place. In the dark, I can't see my head at a glance. The flower on the street only feels that her whole body is light, as if her soul is out of the body, floating and sinking in the air. One scene after another, she was familiar with the pictures in her bones. She walked slowly through her mind one by one, from the remote mainland of China to a place engulfed by darkness, and then to the modern world of tall buildings. In the picture, it seems that there is such a lovely baby like Zayasizu at the beginning. Nua Nua calls her mother, but people call her wife and the baby lady. And the man's face, which was floating and sinking in the dark and had never been seen clearly, suddenly became clear as if he had pushed aside the clouds. From the outline as like as two peas, and the eyes of the 5 organs, there is no place like gold carving and jade carving, and familiar with the familiar. Once upon a time, the dream that had been gradually blurred, now the car showed in front of her. In memory, her soul is almost broken, floating in a desolate and dark place for 100 years. When it is about to disappear, it is the man who took her into the reincarnation path. However, as a demon god, he had already had a contract with the gods. Now, for her, he did not like to destroy the contract, which naturally led to the discontent of the gods and came to attack one after another. From the beginning to the end, she had never seen the earth-shaking World War I. She was protected by him safely, and had not been affected at all. However, when he finally sent her into reincarnation, her breath was not as strong as it was at the beginning. Even before the doctor could express his thanks, she fell into reincarnation completely with a lightning strike. Hazy, she seems to see him fall down with the body, but at that time, her memory has already gradually dissipated, everything with the beginning of falling into reincarnation, forget all. Even the most persistent name in my heart also disappeared. Since then, Emo Shanghua has been in a coma. Yen North City how also can't think of oneself but that day return of a little bit late some, then produced such affair. Father and son drove everyone out, only they guarded the unconscious flowers on the street. Now it's the 10th day. Zayasizu is stubborn and tight. He feels that he has hurt the flowers in the street. He is sleepy and must be here. He's in Zhaohui. At the moment, his round eyes are red and swollen, and he has been struggling for several hours. He can't bear to lie down beside his bed and sleep. Yen Beicheng's eyes are also full of blood. He holds Zayasizu to the side of Xiaotan for a while, and then he sits back again. He holds the hand of Mo Shanghua tightly in his hand, and looks at the peaceful sleeping face of Mo Shanghua with complicated eyes. Mo Shanghua was not hurt and fainted. She just woke up suddenly from the memory of the past. Now this mortal body can't bear it, so she can't wake up. Now she should have remembered almost everything. Yen Beicheng gently held the hand of the flower on the street, and sighed, "The one who should come is always unavoidable. Now that I have awakened, I will not seal your memory in the future. Now that I think about the boat, I am older. When you wake up, I will go with you to find your daughter." In fact, the memory of Mo Shanghua in those years has been awakened under the influence of Ning Tongji. It's only one step away from being fully awakened. But now that Mo Shanghua is a mortal child with a small boat, she can't go to find the whereabouts of Yunwu. Therefore, he had to use all his newly awakened strength to seal the memory of flowers on the street. Cloud dance. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The lips of Mo Shanghua on the bed were slightly open, and they began to talk uncontrollably. Yen North City as usual clenched the hand of Mo Shanghua, but did not expect, her long eyelashes and light tremble twice, slowly opened her eyes. A beautiful but familiar face fell into the eye, and the dazed color of the flowers in the street faded away, but he didn't get up. If in the past, the first thing she did was to stand up first. But now, she just stares at the enlarged handsome face in front of her eyes, and her mood is complex and hard to say, changing constantly. For a long time, the light of water gathered in her eyes, and suddenly tears came down. Yen Beiqing quickly wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes, as if trying to say something, but finally went. She still pursed her lips without saying anything. Emo Shanghua didn't refuse Yen Beiqing's intimacy. She has been used to Yen Beiqing's intimacy for many years in the kingdom of God, but now looking at this face, her mood is no longer the same as usual. She refused to speak. As usual, Yen Beiqing got up, poured a glass of water and said in a low voice, "I know you must have a lot to say now. You've been sleeping for 10 days. You'd better drink some water first." Hua Tongren on the street just turned around and was supported by Yen Beiqing. He sat up and took the teacup, but he only held it in his hand and did not drink it. His eyes did not leave Yen Beiqing for a moment. Demon God Dash. Emo Shanghua finally opened his mouth. His voice was hoarse and hard to hear, but his eyes were as bright as lead, and his eyes were full of affirmation. As early as 3 years ago, you had awakened. Yen Beiqing was silent for a moment and didn't admit it for a long time. He was awakened at that time, but the demon god has long been a thing in the past, and now he is awakened. He just wants to stay with Emo Shanghua for a long time, that is, to be a pair of the most ordinary mortals, which is hundreds of times better than keeping the endless loneliness of those 9 days. He didn't want to break that. Yen North City does not speak. Emo Shanghua then stares at him, opens mouth again. Why do you want to reincarnate with me? Putting her into modern times is to warm her soul, and it is inevitable for her to turn into a mortal, which she can accept. But she did not understand why the devil came to the lower world with her. Yen Beiqing's thin lips were tightly pressed into a straight line. After a long time, he pulled the corners of his lips and said, "I have violated the contract with the Protoss. The Protoss are very difficult to deal with. Naturally, I'm here to stay quiet." Then he pretended to smile easily and said, "Those old guys have some magic power. What's the point of being immortal here? At least it's more interesting than being in the heaven. Don't you think?" He fell on the side of the hand, unconsciously tightened a few minutes, eyes tightly staring at the face of the flower expression, the slightest would not let go. Yes, he's afraid. He's afraid that the flowers on the street will come back. Because he thinks of the past, he doesn't love him anymore. Everything in the kingdom of God had already made him love Emo Shanghua to the core. Even if he had recovered his status as a demon god, he would not let go of her hand. Emo Shanghua is also quietly staring at Yen Beiqing in front of her. She sips her lips and thinks for a long time. Then she pulls the corners of her lips and smiles. This world is very interesting. But as soon as she thought of the cloud dance, which has not been seen yet, the obsession in her heart, which has not been forgotten for 100 years, became clear and thorough again. But I didn't forget that I have to go to find the cloud dance. As long as it was confirmed that her mind had not changed, Yen Beiqing's heart would settle down. He took her hand and his voice was low and hoarse. "I promised that I would find your daughter, and I would find her. This will be forever." Emo Shanghua wants to smile at him, trying to hook his lips, but he can't smile at all. His nose is sour. "The reason why you become like this, you become Yen Beiqing, is because of me, right? The devil is only one person, but also to protect only a soul of her, but also because of the sky and resist countless thunder. Is it so easy to get away?" Emo Shanghua in this life, though remembering the memory of the past, is still Emo Shanghua. She still loves Yen Beiqing to her heart. In her way of thinking, Yen Beiqing is still the main one, and Yunwu is the only one who will not be selfish. Yen Beiqing pulled her into his arms, wrapped her in front of his chest with his firm and powerful shoulder, and his face returned to his usual indulgent smile. Those are things thousands of years ago, which are not worth mentioning. Now, I'm lucky to be with you. Emo Shanghua's journey from modern times to here is only a memory of 2 generations, but in the 3,000 worlds, Yen Beiqing has been reincarnated hundreds of times at various time points in various worlds, so that she can know each other and stay with her in this life. A word suddenly appeared in the flower's mind. How can the years be quiet? It's just that someone is carrying a heavy load for you. Yen Beiqing is the one who is carrying a heavy load for him. Yenbei city shuttles this 100 times, except to avoid the entanglement of the Protoss. I'm afraid more is to find her daughter. Think of here, Emoshangwa's heart completely softened down, eyes gradually accumulated tears, together with the gratitude of previous life, burst out together. Tears fell silently, across his face and on Yen Beiqing's mind. If he had penetrating power, it almost burned Yen Beiqing's heart. Mother, you are awake, why are you crying again, mother? Not far away from Xiao, Zayasizu did not know when to wake up. Looking at the flower in front of him who was crying silently, he opened his mouth wisely, and his eyes were red and swollen. It seemed that he was going to shed tears at any time. Emo Shanghua pushes Yen Beiqing away and holds Xiao Xizhou in her arms. The figure of Cloud Dance appears in her mind again. She temporarily suppresses the idea in her heart and says in a soft voice, "My mother is okay, just moved." Zayasizu is held in his arms by the flowers of the stranger. His mouth is turned away. He wants to shed tears very much, but he is afraid to open his mouth because he is afraid that he will cry when he opens his mouth. His face turns red. When he was just at the age of enlightenment, he kept in mind what Yen Beiqing had taught him and always reminded himself to abide by it. The sadness in the flower's heart seems to be diluted by the lovely child in front of him. He quickly raises his hand to wipe his tears and smiles gently. I think about the boat. If a man has tears, he doesn't flick them lightly, but he doesn't feel sad, so it's okay to cry once in a while. Zayasizu couldn't help but cry. She was a 3-year-old. He sobbed and sobbed, "Mother, it's with me, burp, sleeping with me. It's just like this." However, the little man had such a sensitive nature of self-reproach. Yen Beiqing found a handkerchief of flowers on the street to help Xiao Xizhou wipe the tears on his face. He said with a straight face, "Well, you are now 3 years old. You can't cry like a 2-year-old child. It makes your mother worry." Other people's 3-year-old children can't even speak well. Emo Shanghua's secret way in her heart turns her eyes to Yen Beiqing. What cannot be the same as a 2-year-old child? She is really angry and funny. But he didn't think that such words were particularly effective for Xiao Xizhou. He immediately stopped crying, wiped his own tears while struggling to jump down from the arms of flowers on the street. "I'm all right. Don't hold me at will in the future. I'm 3 years old. You can't spoil me like this." Xiao Xizhou didn't know where to learn it, but he was very stubborn with tears in his eyes. Emo Shanghua turns her eyes to Yen Beiqing again. After thinking about it, she squats down and touches Xiao Xizhou's head. She whispers, "Xizhou, my mother knows that you didn't mean to do it that day. Can you tell my mother if you dream about something that day and see my sister again?" Zayasizu frowned and thought about it seriously, then shook his head, "I can't remember." While talking, I couldn't help but cover my mouth and yawn quietly. Emo Shanghua didn't have the heart to ask. She took him back to the room to sleep. Then she went back to the inner room. Is Xizhou different from ordinary people? Emo Shanghua twists her eyebrows and looks up at Yen Beiqing. She can see through other people's dreams. When she sleeps, she gets hot all over, but there is no difference on her body. Maybe she couldn't think of such a magical thing before, but now she thinks of it all, and she has a feeling in her heart. Emo Shanghua Mingming never mentioned Xiao Xizhou to him, but Yen Beiqing seemed to have expected something strange, and his voice was calm. "My memory and strength are awakening. This child may have inherited my strength, so it's like this. The spiritual power in this world is rare, but this child is born with spiritual root. Now, when he is old, even if he has little spiritual power, he will still quietly pour into his body. I have never taught him how to use cultivation. The spiritual power just warms his body and does not cause any influence." Yen Beiqing's memory was awakened early. In fact, he had already realized that it was only because Emo Shanghua had not awakened that he had never made it clear. Now that Emo Shanghua was known, he said without reservation, "As for seeing through other people's dreams, this is probably the most unique thing for him, and I don't have the ability to do so. Maybe it's his chance. It's not a bad thing. You don't have to worry about it." In the heart of Emo Shanghua, I just let go. I don't know what I think of. My eyes are gradually far away. What do you mean by the name you gave him? She had a hunch in her heart, but she couldn't help but want to confirm. Yen Beiqing had known her careful thinking, but he patiently explained, I know you miss Yunwu, and she is your only concern in mainland China. Therefore, I named him Sizhou. As for why not just call it Siwu, if he grows up to be a 7-foot man in the future, will he have to be held on his shoulder all the time and yelled at each other? No, Emma Shanghua was moved in his heart, his red lips pulled out a light radiance, his smile was gentle and firm. I know what you are worried about. You can rest assured that I have determined you in this life, no matter how, I will not let go of your hand. Said, took the initiative to put his hand into the hands of Yen Beiqing. Close fingers, 2 hearts, just like at this moment. Yen Beiqing's heart suddenly became hot. He held the hand of Emma Shanghua tightly. His eyes were eager and affectionate. I'll accompany you to find your daughter and realize your obsession. After a pause, his eyes suddenly darkened, but before I came here, Yunwu was no longer in the mainland of China. Now, although my strength has been slowly awakening, it's still very little. Maybe I can't find her all my life. The flowers on the street are silent, the red lips are slightly pursed, and the eyes are dark. That is her daughter who is not willing to give up until her soul dissipates. How can she be reconciled? However, all the experiences of these 2 lives have changed her mood. She is no longer the witch saint in the past. She is just a stranger now. Now that she has more things to care about, she can't selfishly regard Yunwu as the whole of her life. What's more, Yen Beiqing can't be so selfish to accompany her to find a daughter who has no blood relationship with him, a persistence that may not be found in the whole life of exhausting this mortal body. Yenbei City I. She couldn't help looking up at the man in front of her, who had already rolled to her throat, but she couldn't spit it out anyway. Wait a minute. Yen Beiqing seems to suddenly think of something, turned to the corner of the room and took the dusty box. The flower on the street fixed her eyes, and Xiumei began to frown. Is this what Ning Tongji left behind? I remember that I couldn't open it in any way in the past. As soon as I open it today, I will remember all the past events. After a pause, her eyes suddenly coagulated and took the box over. The box seems to have lost all the spiritual power. Now when it is opened again, it is the same as the ordinary box, and there is no more spiritual power. In the middle of the box, there is a rolled-up paper lying quietly. Emma Shanghua pondered for a while, took out the paper and unfolded it slowly. It seems that the paper is not vulgar. It has been dusty in this box for so long, but it is still as clean as new. The contents are as outlined just now. Every stroke is very clear, and it doesn't have the appearance of being invaded by half a minute. This is The Way to the Witch Fairies. Yen Beiqing and Emma Shanghua watched together. After carefully watching, he became a deep voice. Emma Shanghua also carefully looked at it, but his brow slightly frowned. It's Ning Tongji. He's suggesting to you and me that we need to go to the witch fairy family? Yen Beiqing nodded slightly, and Feng's eyes narrowed slightly. There was a sense of vigilance in his eyes. This man is acting strangely. From beginning to end, he is like an outsider, and he interferes in our affairs from time to time. It must not be simple. Emma Shanghua folded up the palm paper and put it away. Her face was quiet and determined. Anyway, we'll have to find out what happened. Good. Yen North City naturally won't refuse, low voice should weigh. The marriage between Nanhe and Hui Qianliu is approaching, so the coma of Mo Shanghua has been concealed without telling anyone. Qinya, who is coming back every few days, is also temporarily dismissed by Yen Beiqing. As a result, no one was alarmed. Emma Shanghua and Yen Beiqing have already had an idea in their mind, but after all, they have been waiting for 100 years. They are not bad at all. They plan to go after the wedding of Hua Qianlu and Nanhe. But no one expected that everything would be ready in Hui Qianliu, and the wedding was almost made with half a fortune. At this time, because of one thing, it had to be interrupted. Yen Zhenxuan, who has been sitting on the dragon chair for 2 years, suddenly died. Yen Zhenxuan's bad health is well known. However, in the past 3 years, few people have heard of his illness. Everyone thinks that his illness has gradually improved. No one thought that at this time, the news of his death suddenly came from the palace. The Empress Dowager was devastated, but she had to support Yan Zhenxuan's brother, Lin Wang, who was the sixth prince when Baorong Emperor was still alive. Not only Hui Qianliu and Nanhe, but also Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing were unprepared by the news. In this way, all their plans will be disrupted, and the most important thing now is to go back to the imperial city. All the carriages were ready for the ceremony, but the Empress Dowager's edict came again. The emperor's life was poor, and he left the edict before his death. He was ashamed that he had been in power for 3 years. He did not make much contribution to the country. He was ashamed of his father and the emperor. He did not want to organize the funeral ceremony. All the kings were brothers. He should not rush for him, and did not allow the kings to return to Beijing. There is a certain purpose to this purpose. After 3 years of management, the vassals now have a certain strength in their respective fiefs. No one knows whether their cowardly temperament will change. Although Yan Zhenxuan accepted his concubines in these 3 years, he had no children. He just passed the throne to the king in a hurry. If he rashly allowed the vassals to return to Beijing, he might lead to chaos. Let's not mention that. It has been more than 20 days since Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing received the Empress Dowager's successive Yizhi. Both of them originally set out to return to the imperial city, but when they received such Yizhi, they had mixed feelings. Especially on the flowers, her heart always feels Yan Zhenxuan's death is too sudden, whether there is anything strange. Or is it that the emperor's life is so hard that his body can't bear the burden? Before her suspicions could be carried out, the girl's report brought her back to reality. Tell the prince and the princess that there is a young man outside the mansion who asked to see you. The man said that he was an old friend of you and the princess. Old friends? Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing look at each other. They all have some doubts in their hearts. They give orders to let the maidservant take them down. Before that person came, they had been wondering which old friend they were. After all, most of their friends now settled down in Huang. If they were familiar with it, how could they report it like this? It was not until the young master, dressed in a plain white robe and as graceful as jade, stood in front of them that they were shocked. At the moment, the man standing in front of them, smiling like jade, is not Hu Yan Zhenxuan, who has been ordered by the Empress Dowager to tell the world that he has died. After a shock, Yan Beiqing immediately held back the crowd. After only 3 of them were left in the hall, he said, "Why cheat death?" 3 years of life as an emperor did not seem to have changed Yan Zhenxuan's mind. As usual, he said with a warm smile, "Life in the imperial palace is too tired. In the past 3 years, I have been secretly supporting 6th Emperor brother. Now he has improved and I can't wait to get out of the palace." Mo Shanghua was a little confused in her heart. She looked down and thought for a while and said, "Can I feel your pulse?" Yan Zhenxuan's gentle eyes flashed slightly and his hand shrank under the wide sleeve robe. He said, "I'm much better now. You don't have to worry. This time, I've come to say goodbye to you." He, who had always been gentle, saw the flower on the street, but he didn't give her a chance to speak. He continued with a smile, "In my life, except for you, Zhou, I have never been out of the imperial city. Now I have experienced a lot along the way, and now I have some ideas." Speaking of this, I don't know why the smile of the corner of my lips is a bit bitter. I still have such a long time for the rest of my life. I want to have a look around. At least I have to walk all over the kingdom of God to make this life worthwhile. 3 years has not lost his yearning for her in his heart. Therefore, he wants to travel all over the mountains and rivers to find her shadow. He knew that she had been gone for a long time, but he had no other wish in this life. After searching for the rest of his life, he might have a chance to see her who had been reincarnated. Even if she can't see all these mountains and rivers for her, it's worth living. Seems to see Yan Zhenxuan deeply buried in the bottom of the eyes of sadness. Mo Shanghua is silent, not in the questioning. In fact, Yan Beiqing had a clear idea of their origin, but he didn't tear it down. He laughed and joked. You used to have no worries about food and clothing, but now you are in the secular world. You can see that the secular world needs money everywhere. If you lack money in the future, you can come to the Yuanfu at any time. Mo Shanghua also put aside his worries and gave him a smile. Since this is your choice, we will never interfere. As Beiqing said, if you need a place in the future, just come to the house of King Yu. 3 years later, the years have not left any mark on the face of the flowers on the street. The only thing that has become more peaceful is that it is not as cold as it used to be. Therefore, it is different from Yan Zhenxuan's face in memory. Yan Zhenxuan's heart has been stemming from the knot, seems to be at this moment relieved. He just pulled the lip, smile of gentle close. Brother and sister-in-law, Miss Intermediary, I will not be polite. He called for his brother and sister-in-law so many times. Only today's brother and sister-in-law is a blessing from the bottom of his heart. Yan Beiqing stood up and said, You just came to Huayang. You must stay for a few days before you leave. I'll send someone to prepare the guest room for you. Now Yanbei City has become more humane than before. The flower on the street was very happy with her lips and smile, and stood up with him to make a fuss. We have to hold a banquet to invite each other in the evening, but... With a quick turn of words, she joked, Now the emperor's death is less than a month, but we can't have a banquet. Smell speech, Yan Zhenxuan also can't help but smile, quite self-mockery of hook-up lips. In that case, that matter or allow after discuss. Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing looked at each other and laughed. After a joke, Yan Zhenxuan got up and said, Someone will pay attention to you now. If I stay for a long time, it will only bring you trouble. Today I just come to visit you. I will leave here and go to Jiangnan in a moment. Leaving so soon? Mo Shanghua looked at the sky outside the window, quite surprised. Yan Beiqing also came forward with a master's manner and said, It's been 3 years since we parted, 13. If you don't think about it, you don't have to say that I'm absolutely safe here. In 3 years, there were no villains who made trouble in secret. The whole Huayang city was managed by Mo Shanghua of Yanbei City. He was like Tai Tong, and other people couldn't get in at all. However, Yan Zhenxuan's attitude was very firm. He smoothed the wrinkles on his clothes and said, The carriage has been waiting outside. It can't be delayed. Yan North City and Mo Shanghua look at each other. They are not forced, personally sent Yan Zhenxuan out. As for Lu Jing, who has been helping Yan Zhenxuan to cure, I heard that he traveled all over the world a year ago with his medical skills. Now they all have their own ends, but Hua Qianlu is the only one. He has been looking forward to it for 3 years, and has been preparing for it for more than half a year. With the marriage approaching, he has entered the period of the emperor's death. All the things he has prepared have to be withdrawn, and the wedding has been cancelled. Flower Thousand Willows worry almost whitehead, day and night to find Yanbei City to find a way. Yan Beiqing was really helpless, so he made an idea to let them go to a foreign country. It was just a casual remark. Unexpectedly, Hua Qianlu patted her thigh and decided the matter. With half of her wealth, she and Nan He are going to hold a wedding again in a foreign country. Naturally, this preparation will take more than half a year. Therefore, during this period of time, Yan Beiqing and Mo Shanghua quietly left Huayang with a small boat. In any case, they all want to go to the witch fairy family to have a look, at least to find out what the purpose is. Maybe, it's not necessary to find the trace of cloud dance there. Everyone says that the Wuxian clan is in the far north of the mainland. The kingdom of God, just to the southeast of the mainland, is also separated by the star country and the moon country. But all the people in the world would not expect that the witch fairy clan was in the far north, but the only one who could get to the far north was in a former vassal mausoleum outside Yuzhou City. The vassal mausoleum has gone through 100 years of wind and frost, and the former dynasty vassal mausoleum, which has been destroyed for 100 years, has long been left unattended and has become dilapidated. Even the entrance of the mausoleum has been buried in sand. It is such a ruined and terrible place, which is shown as the entrance to the sorcerer clan on the map given by Ning Tongji. This place is located in the most remote and poor wilderness of Yuzhou. No one can be seen on weekdays. Therefore, there is no need for Yan Beiqing to hide anything at the moment. With a wave of his sleeve, the entrance of the mausoleum buried in sand is exposed. Now that she has recovered her memory, Mo Shanghua has begun to practice her spiritual power again. Is it just that the spiritual power of the kingdom of God is very weak? She has a lot of effort in practice, but she has never seen Yan Beiqing practice. Has she reached this point? Xiao Xizhou was not clear about his ability, and he had never seen Yan Beiqing show up in front of him like this. He suddenly stared round his eyes and blinked again and again in disbelief. After a long time, he pulled the sleeves of the flowers on the street and said, "Mom, Dad knows how to do magic. My mother didn't coax me." It turned out that there was really magic. Although the couple didn't tell him his skills, they began to tell him about cultivation. Unfortunately, Xiao Xizhou had his own insight and thought that he was being coaxed by flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua touched the top of his hairy hair and sighed with a smile. "Mother didn't know your father was so powerful." Xiaosizu now opened the new world, even in front of the mausoleum did not see fear, learning the appearance of Yanbei City outside, straightened his waist and said, "Mother, I will be as powerful as Dad in the future, to protect you and Dad." "When does Daddy need your protection?" Yan Beiqing is quite dissatisfied and brings the little guy over. He says solemnly, "Your mother is protected by your father. You just want to protect others in the future." Xiaosizu seriously thought about Yan Beiqing's words, but retorted, "Why should I protect others? Since my father doesn't need my protection, I will protect my mother as well as my father." Yan Beiqing frowned more discontentedly and said childishly, "No, mother can only protect her father." Xiaosizu was extremely confused and twisted his brows. He was only 3 years old. He really couldn't understand what Yan Beiqing's words meant. The flower on the street is funny and angry. She pulls Xiaosizu to her side and explains in a low voice, "Dad means that your mother has been protected by Dad. You will meet a good girl in the future. That's what you need to protect." Xiaosizu nodded, not asking. But his heart is still tangled. Why must protect others? However, he had a thorough mind and knew that he was also bothering his parents, so he simply went to tangle with himself. Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing didn't know what was in Xizhou's little head. Now they had all focused on the entrance of the mausoleum. According to the map directions left by Ning Tongji, the entrance to the Wuxin clan is in the mausoleum. Yan Beiqing asked Mo Shanghua and Xiaosizu to step back for a while. Then he went forward and fumbled on the stone gate at the entrance of the mausoleum. A moment later he pushed it away for a while. A light golden ball of light condensed in the palm of his hand and smashed it towards the entrance of the mausoleum. This kind of energy should have the power of near destruction for everything in the world, but I never thought that the moment the energy ball bounced up, it would be like hitting something, and it would dissipate into the invisible. It's the border. Mo Shenghua's eyes narrowed slightly, and his eyes slightly coagulated. There is a border here. In sum, she has not seen the border in 100 years. Xiaosizu was even more stunned. After all, he was a 3-year-old child. Even in Zhaohui, he could not hide his inner shock. "Mother, what is the boundary?" "It's a force invisible to the naked eye, like eggshell. As long as he's there, we can't get in." Mo Shanghua carefully considered the words, slowed down the voice and replied, "Eggshell?" Yan Beiqing, who had just returned with a dignified face, was unable to laugh or cry. I do not know why, such a metaphor in the mouth of Mo Shanghua. It seems so funny. But Xiao Xizhou listened very seriously and even straightened up his chest and looked at Yan Beiqing. "My mother is right, Dad, don't laugh." As soon as the voice fell, the flower on the street also glanced at it, vaguely with a sense of threat. Yan Beiqing grinned and stood in front of the mausoleum with his chest outstretched and hands down, but his face was still dignified. This border is not set by ordinary people. To be honest, the spiritual power of the kingdom of God is very weak. In the past 3 years, My skill recovery is less than 10%. It is extremely difficult to break this border. The flower on the street, holding the small hand of Zayasizu, comes forward to have a look and frowns gently. Zayasizu also learned the appearance of flowers on the street, staring at them with wide eyes, and the extremely rare and shallow eyebrows were also puzzling and wrinkled. Mother, I can't see anything. Yen North City gathered together to come over. The vision turned to Emo Shanghua. Emo Shanghua was silent for a moment, and her red lips moved. I can't see it either. Yen Beiqing, after looking at Emo Shanghua so seriously for a long time, he didn't see anything. Yen Beiqing was so cute and funny that he almost couldn't help laughing. As if aware of Yen Beiqing's emotion, Emo Shanghua turned his head without expression and said, I'm just getting angry now. I can't see it naturally. Yenbei City was originally a demon god in his previous life. Every reincarnation was with strength, while Mo Shanghua's previous life was because the soul was about to dissipate. Through reincarnation again and again, all things nourish and slowly gather back the dissipated soul, which is naturally different from Yenbei City. Even now, she does not have any weakness in her body. In fact, her spirit is still incomplete. Yen Beiqing quietly accepted the smile, drooped his eyes and thought about it carefully. He began to form a series of ancient and tedious fa seals in his hands. A touch of golden light flashed in his eyes. Emo Shanghua takes Xiao Xizhou and goes back, so as not to disturb Yen Beiqing and hurt them. Yen North City originally congealed in the hands of the Law Seal. This quickly spread, toward the border will be covered. However, it is still like a drop of water falling into the continuous Yangtze River. It is swallowed in the blink of an eye, and even a drop of flowers are not aroused. Yen Beiqing had no choice but to lock his sword and eyebrows tightly. This boundary is extraordinary. It's not something that people in this continent can set up. Emo Shanghua also nodded with a dignified look. I don't know what he thought of. Suddenly he sat down cross-legged, closed his eyes and put his hands on his knees. Seeing this, Yen Beiqing pulls Zayasizu over for a while and sits cross-legged opposite her. When Emo Shanghua was in mainland China, she used to be a witch saint. Although she doesn't have any spiritual power, there are always some mysteries that others can't spy on. She closed her eyes for a long time, but she denied them one by one. After a long time, she suddenly opened her eyes and stood up an inch before the border. Yen Beiqing frowned and looked at the flowers on the street. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Before I could open my mouth, I saw the flower suddenly raised her hand and took a silver needle to pierce her fingertips. The bright red blood bead seeped out, but did not fall on the ground, but was wrapped up by a white light in an instant, rising slowly. Then he flew in the direction of the mausoleum and disappeared before reaching the mausoleum. It seems that Emo Shanghua is not surprised by this situation. She suddenly forms a fa seal in her hand. Her power is not as powerful as Yen Beiqing's, and she can't even see a trace of spiritual power. However, for some unknown reason, the invisible boundary suddenly seems to be dyed. It slowly starts from the center of the sky, with a faint white light, and all of it shows up in front of people to the naked eye. We can only see a pale white hemisphere like a thin film. At this time, it is still not over, and then it is the same point. The bright red veins like blood grow all over the eyes, but in a moment, the whole border will be covered. Finally, the vein like a line of division, the entire border will be completely divided, fractures slowly emitting a light red light. Bang! A huge sound reverberates in my ears, and the boundary is completely broken into pieces, returning to nothingness. However, what Emo Shanghua didn't expect was that at the moment when the border turned into nothingness, the original clear sky suddenly darkened, and the strong wind rose everywhere. The entrance of the mausoleum, which had not been blocked by the border, suddenly appeared as a tear-like black hole. Emo Shanghua Maoguang microcoagulation, returned to Yen Beiqing's side, hold the other hand of small think boat. Yen Beiqing's pupils shrank in an instant. He leaned over and hugged Zayasizu into his arms. The other empty hand grasped the hand of Emo Shanghua and turned quickly. Something happened here. We must leave quickly. Before the words came out, it was like a monster who would eat people when I got to Hayes Cave. A very strong suction suddenly engulfed the 3 members of their family. Then, all the places in front of our eyes turned into darkness. There was thunder all over our body. Near our eyes, there were bright and dazzling lightning. Emo Shanghua was full of amazement, which she could not imagine in any way. Isn't this the entrance to Wuxin clan? We were cheated. Emo Shanghua has an idea in her heart. As soon as she spits out her words, she suddenly has a huge suction all over her body, which makes her light and weightless. She floats in the air and rushes into the endless darkness with a suction. Yan Beiqing tightly grasped the hand of Emo Shanghua and looked at him with red eyes. Hold on to me. The other hand is to firmly grasp the boat. Fortunately, although Zayasizu was already flustered at the moment, he was not totally unreasonable. He held Yan Beiqing's arm tightly in his hands and cried in his tender voice, "Mother, you should hold fast." It was so dark here that I couldn't see anything, but the wind from nowhere blew off Yan Beiqing's hair crown, and his long hair was suddenly scattered, swaying around by the strong wind and sticking tightly to his face. But on the handsome face covered by hair, a pair of phoenix eyes were covered with blood, and the pupils were faintly covered with a touch of pale gold. The hair on the street was also blown disorderly, and the suction behind her was so strong that she had to let go of the people in front of her almost at any time. A dazzling flash of lightning passed by, and then the darkness was restored all around again, and there was a constant storm and thunder in my ears. "I won't let you go." Emo Shanghua tried her best to shout out, but her ears began to hum. Yan Beiqing seemed to be talking again, but she didn't really listen. I don't know why, just like being struck by lightning, my hands suddenly became numb, and my consciousness disappeared for a moment, and my strength relaxed slowly at any time. It was dark before her eyes. Hazy, she seems to return to the chaos of 100 years ago. Day and night, year and year. Waiting for her, only the long and extreme unknown darkness. Just this time, there was no company with him. In the chaos of consciousness, the flowers on the street feel as if a touch of white appeared in front of them. She was conscious in an instant, and suddenly widened her eyes. Her eyes were fixed on the man tightly. "It's you, Ning Zhizhi." In the darkness, Ning Tongji was dressed in a clean and incomparable white robe, and her lips were still filled with a light smile, as if she had seen all the eyes in the world and looked at her faintly. It's you. What are you going to do?" Emo Shanghua stares at Ning Tongji and wants to get close to him, but he can't move as if he is in a vacuum. He is in the dark. Ning knew that he didn't explain and didn't know what method he used. He floated directly in front of her and grabbed her by the wrist. Suddenly, there was a dazzling white light in front of her. Emo Shanghua fell into a coma. There was a noise in my ears, as if I was in a busy city. Emo Shanghua opens her eyes and looks blankly at the blue sky in front of her. Wake up, wake up. Wait a minute, I just called 120. What can I do? Whatever, let's go. Emo Shanghua is at a loss again in her heart. She covers her painful head and sits up. Her eyes sweep around. At this moment, she is stunned on the spot. The high-rise buildings, the endless stream of cars, the people wearing simple and cool clothes around, and the simplified characters before the shops all boast that this is not the kingdom of God, but the 21st century where she has lived for more than 20 years. She's back? Emo Shanghua looked down at her clothes, which were the same as when she was in the kingdom of God. She raised her hand and touched her hair. The waterfall like long hair and the touch of the skin are her body in the kingdom of God. She not only came back, but also came back with this body. But what about Yanbei City? What about Zayasizu? Emo Shanghua thought about everything, quickly stood up, eyes swept around a circle. However, there are no two familiar faces except for the pedestrians in a hurry and the fast-passing traffic. Yes, they were separated in the turbulence. It was Ning Tongji who brought her back, but why did he do it? Where did Yan Beiqing and her son go? Will it be involved in other world by turbulence? At the thought of this possibility, Emo Shanghua could hardly control her mood. Her heart was beating rapidly at a violent speed, her throat was suffering, and her mood almost collapsed. Except for Yunwu, the most important and even more important people in her life are disappearing before her eyes. Think of this possibility, she almost can't help squatting down, 2 hands into the hair, fingers can't help shaking. Are you all right? At this time, a clear voice suddenly sounded in the head. Emo Shanghua just raised her head, but on the other hand, there was a pretty clean man's face. At the moment, he was leaning slightly, looking at her with concern. However, how to look at this face is somewhat similar to Ning Tongji. On the street, Flower Heart suddenly surged this possibility, suddenly stand up, eyes red, staring at the person in front of him, a pull off his collar, rather no, what do you want to do? No matter how rational people are, they will collapse in the face of the present situation. The man was concerned about the eyes suddenly changed, lips filled with a light smile. You need to calm down. That put-on smile to stimulate Emo Shanghua eyes more red, but the cheek is a pale, bloodless. For a long time, she released the man's skirt, closed her eyes and forced herself to calm down. At present, she is still wearing a simple ancient dress, which is already eye-catching. If she is making some radical moves, she will be regarded as a mental illness in a short time. Emo Shanghua's idea just passed, and then he saw a car suddenly stopped by the side of the road. After getting off the car, the medical staff looked around, as if they were looking for someone. Thinking of the words when he just woke up, Emo Shanghua immediately turned around and wanted to leave directly. After thinking about it, he turned around and dragged the man together, hiding behind the bus stop sign for the time being. When the sound of 120 cars whistle gradually goes away, Emo Shanghua takes a deep breath and looks at the person in front of him coldly. It was also at this time that she noticed that the man in front of her had crisp short hair, modern white shirt and a slightly similar face to Ning Jiji, which was quite different from Ning Jiji in her memory. Is only a little bit similar, but the look on his face, eyes, flowers on the street remember clearly, it is impossible to admit wrong. This person must be Ning Tongji. Better know. Emo Shanghua tried to restrain his emotions and said calmly, I don't care what reasons you come up with. In a word, I won't believe it. You just need to tell me what your purpose is and where Yan Beiqing got them. Ning knows to turn a mao to see the direction around, and then looked at the slightly embarrassed Emo Shanghua in front of me light way. If I really want to put you how, now will not appear here, I have said, you need to calm down. Pause, eyes in her body swept a circle. Emo Shanghua drooped his eyes and took a look at his own dress. He pressed down the surging emotion in his heart for the time being. Good. In order to stay out of the limelight, Emo Shanghua went on the stage and chose a modern t-shirt and trousers to replace them. As for paying the bill, he was naturally in charge of it. After all, he contributed to all this, and the stranger would not be polite to him. Wait for the moment to tidy up, Emo Shanghua just went to a coffee shop with Ning Tongji. At that time, Mo's hang flower had been replaced with simple modern clothes, and its waterfall-like waist-long hair was lost in the back of my mind, which was fresh and neat. However, she was not in the mood to pay attention at this time. Ning knows where Yanbei City and Sizhou have gone. You must give me an explanation. At the mention of Yanbei City and Zayasizu, Emo Shanghua's mood was uncontrollable and excited. Suddenly lost love, is back to the previous world. She will not have any expectations, happy, only more painful. She would rather never come back to this world than be separated from Yan Sizhou forever. Ning knew that she didn't seem to see her cold face. She was still indifferent to life and death. Don't you want to know what this is all about? In that case, I'll let you know. I don't want to hear that now. The flower eyes on the street are like ice skates. They fall on Ning Tongji coldly. The temperature all around seems to fall. Ning knew it, but he didn't answer. He still said to himself, in fact, the Wuxian clan was destroyed 100 years ago. There is no Wuxian clan in the world. There are only some Qingyue clan in the far north. The original seal of the border can lead to the far north. Just open a temporary entrance to the border. After a pause, he continued, it's just that there is an extremely unstable space crack. You use the secret method to directly break the boundary, and then you will be inhaled into the space crack. You're right. I made it happen. Mo Shanghua's beautiful cheek became more and more heavy with Ning Tongji's words. His lips were tight and he didn't say a word. Rather knowing and seeing this, he continued, as for Yan Beiqing, his strength has been awakened a lot. Your son is not a body. He will never be okay. Mo Shanghua's tight lips loosened for a while, then whispered, have they fallen into the space of ignorance now? Ning knew that there was something profound in his eyes. 3,000 worlds are not empty words. Go to the 3,000 worlds of Tim. Mo Shanghua suddenly stood up and grasped the edge of the table tightly with both hands. The blue veins on the back of her hands burst up. What's your purpose in the end? Her movement is so big that people around her look at her, but because of her evil spirit, no one dares to dissuade her. Rather no, and Mo Shanghua lift eye to eye, a pair of quiet eyes within half a wave also no. Mo Shanghua stares at Ning Tongji, his calm eyes reflect her appearance at the moment. Crazy, angry, embarrassed. This is not what she was. Mo Shanghua bit her lip hard, and a rusty smell spread in her mouth. Her almost confused thoughts gradually cleared up, and she sat back again. Ning Tong sighed and stood up. His gentle voice rang out as he turned around. This world will never let you come. When you calm down, you can see the person you want to see. The flowers on the street close their eyes and gently close their lips. It's getting dark outside, and there are fewer and fewer guests in the hall. At that time, the only person in the hall was Mo Shanghua, who sat with his eyes closed for a day. The waiter looked at the time on the clock on the wall and came forward slightly apologetically. Excuse me, miss. It's 11:30 now. We're going to close here. Mo Shanghua just looked up, glanced at the clean shirt of the waiter, and then got up to leave. If you are in the kingdom of God, you will have fallen asleep. But this is the 21st century. In addition to the closing of day shops, there are still a large number of night industries. The real nightlife has just begun. Mo Shanghua glanced blankly at the still brightly lit street. Everything in front of her seemed familiar and strange. For a long time, her chaotic thoughts gradually became clear. One day is enough time for her to calm down completely and be safe. Now it's certain that Yan Beiqing and Xiao Xizhou have fallen into a different world, and Ning knows that there must be something else in their words. In this world, what can make her come in vain? Could it be that? A thought suddenly appeared in my heart, and Mo Shanghua's heart beat violently, and his lips were even tighter. She must adapt to the modern life as soon as possible, not to be so decadent. Mo Shanghua found a passerby on the street to inquire about the current situation. She is now in the city where she was when she was a doctor of medicine in her previous life, but now it is 5 years after she crossed the kingdom of God. She has been in the kingdom of God for only 4 years. I didn't expect that she had been in this place for so many years. But that's not the dilemma she's facing now. When she was in the kingdom of God, she was worn by the soul, but now she is worn by the whole person. Today, she has no identity or money in modern times. In her previous life, she was a medical doctor of the strongest special combat brigade, but her body had long died in that explosion, and there was no skeleton left, so there was a theory of crossing. So, what should we do now? The flower on the street, frowning and thinking carefully, can't help but scold Ning. Why don't you help her solve these problems temporarily? Anyway, she had to find a way to settle down first. Modern times are full of people. It's not convenient to spend money on the street, and there's no money on her. As a result, she can only walk to an apartment she bought in the city in her previous life by memory. She has no father or mother. She was an orphan before. She wanted to make a will, but there was no one to make. I don't know what to do with this property. No matter what, we should have a look at it anyway. Mo Shanghua left the thoughts in her mind for the time being, calmed down and walked out of the elevator. In the past 5 years, Many parts of the urban area have changed a lot. Fortunately, this residential area has not changed much. The most comforting thing for Mo Xianghua is that this apartment belongs to a high-end apartment. The door locks are all fingerprint identification, and it doesn't matter if there is no key. After she crossed to the kingdom of God, the original owner looked the same as her, but I don't know if her fingerprints are the same. Mo Xianghua pondered for a while, pointing the index finger at the location of fingerprint identification. The red light on the smart lock flashes once, indicating that the fingerprint identification is wrong. Mo Xianghua tightens her lips, reaches out her hand and touches it in her pocket. Then she remembers that her hairpin has been lost in the space crack. Looking at the door in front of her, she felt helpless and angry. After thinking about it, she simply turned around and went to the security room downstairs. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. The security guard in the security room is lying on the bed, sleeping very heavily. She knocked a few times but didn't answer. Mo Xianghua was patient and continued to look at the door of the security room. The security guard in the room got up impatiently and opened the door with a few words of abuse. However, after seeing the beautiful and aloof Mo Xianghua in front of her eyes, she couldn't help swallowing her saliva. She immediately changed her face, raised a smile that she thought was handsome, and said, "Miss, what are you doing in my security room in the middle of the night?" The frown on the street, slightly invisible frown for a while, forced to endure. The heart is not happy, face expressionless, mouth, "I lost my mobile phone, to borrow your mobile phone to call the property." The security guard had no doubt. Like Xian Bao, he handed her his mobile phone. "Please use it, please use it." Mo Xianghua took the mobile phone, some unfamiliar to open the interface, according to the wall property phone call in the past. At this time, she didn't answer the call for a long time, but she was very patient and kept fighting over and over again. After a long time, a man's voice rang. "Hello. I'm a resident here. I think there's a thief in my house. Now the door is locked. I need you to come at once." The flower on the road can only consider a bit, the face is not red, the mouth of gasping. Listening to the beautiful voice of the woman over there, as well as such strong words, the man over there suddenly sat down on the bed, with a slight urgency in his voice. "Miss, you haven't been hurt at present, have you? Did you call the police? Is there no one going to the security room?" As he spoke, he quickly dressed with his free hand. Mo Xianghua's eyes twinkled slightly, and her face did not change. "I'm in the security room now. I've already called the police, and my key has been locked inside. Please find a locksmith, by the way." The people over there answered quickly, but before they could ask which resident it was, they already hung up. Mo Xianghua returned the mobile phone to the security guard, looking at him faintly. "Can I sit for a while?" "Of course." The security guard immediately pulled away the chair. Just after that, he seemed to think of something and looked at her strangely. "Miss, aren't you in a hurry?" Then he picked up his baton and walkie-talkie and said, "Why don't I have a look with you first? Other brothers should be here at this time. I'll call some hands. Don't worry. We're sure to keep you safe." Mo Xianghua raised her eyes and glanced at the security guard. Her eyes were indifferent, without the slightest emotional ups and downs. "No, I called the police." Clearly just a light look, I do not know why. The security in the heart of inexplicable shake a shake. Chat up, put down the baton. It took about half an hour for the door of the security room to knock again. Mo Xianghua turned to see a man in a loose t-shirt, shorts, slippers and unkempt face standing at the door of the security room, knocking eagerly on the door. The security guard opened the door. His eyes fell on the face of indifferent flowers sitting in the security room, panting. "Miss, did you just call me? What's the situation now? Do you have anything to do?" Mo Xianghua stands up. Mao Guang sweeps a circle on the man's body, eyebrow light frown. "You alone?" The man shook the toolbox in his hand, covered his belly with his other hand, and said, "This is okay. Let's go." Mo Xianghua nodded slightly and walked out directly. The security guard also picked up the baton and walkie-talkie and said, "I'll help too. Di Yen, who hasn't slowed down the coming chi, is powerless to follow. After waiting for people to get on the elevator, Di Yen remembered later and asked, "Where's the police? Are they coming?" Mo Shanghua pressed the floor and didn't answer. Security is also confused, do not understand the eyes to see flowers on the street. "Miss, the police have not yet arrived?" Speaking of this, he suddenly remembered that Mo Shanghua had said that her mobile phone was lost before she came to borrow it from him. How did she call the police? Just want to say the question in the heart. The stranger flower, not cold, not light, eyes swept over, don't know why, he came to the mouth of the words born blocked. Just at this time, the elevator has reached the floor where it is, and the flowers on the street go out first. After the two people come out, they walk to the door of their residence and say, "Here it is. Open the door first." Di Yen squatted down without any doubt and opened the toolbox in his hand. The security guard took a look at the door number, but his face was strange and said, "This door number." He seemed to suddenly think of something and immediately stepped back with vigilance. "No, I heard that this family has not come back for 5 years, and you have not called the police at all. What do you want to do?" Di Yen, also surprised, raised his head, looked at the flowers on the street, and looked at the security. Bang! Put away the toolbox, back to the security side. "Miss, please speak clearly." Mo Shanghua didn't panic. Her face was light. She didn't look like a thief. "I'm a resident here. I'll know as soon as I check the property." On the face of it, in fact, she was a little nervous. She didn't know how to deal with the property now. The security guard was still a little unconvinced, holding a baton, a face of vigilance. "Impossible, although I'm new, but you, this little trick can't cheat me. Now the cross-dressing is so developed, who knows if you are a man pretending?" "What cross-dressing technology?" Mo flower lips, slightly invisible, gently twitch. "Where does she look like a man?" "Don't make any noise. I'll find out if it's true." Di Yan's eyes in the street flower calm beautiful face swept an eye. Don't know why, is to the woman in front of inexplicable, have a good bit of trust. With this in mind, he stepped forward to the door and operated on the password lock with one hand. On the opposite wall, a large screen was suddenly projected. The most prominent on the screen was the picture of flowers on the street, as well as a household information. It is like as two peas before crossing. Mo Shanghua's slightly clenched fists are quietly loosened. Her eyes are shining slightly, and she feels surprised in her heart. It's only 5 years, and now there are such devices? And when was the projection installed? The security guard on one side was embarrassed after seeing the specific information clearly. Di Yen was obviously relieved. Then he turned around and looked at the flowers with a sorry face. "I'm sorry, miss. We didn't mean it. It's just that you do show that it's been vacant for 5 years. Uncle Bowen, brother is a little nervous." The security guard is also full of apologies. Mo Shanghua nodded slightly, indicating that he accepted, and then used his chin to point the direction of the door lock. Di Yen immediately come over, busy squat down again, open toolbox search. After a while, I found out a square and complicated mechanical thing. After putting it on the door lock, another key came out of the machine. The flowers on the street are secretly frightened. They can't help but sigh in their heart. Is the technology really developing so fast now? With the key, it's not difficult to unlock the door. Just, Di Yen also think about the thief, handsome face a little bit hesitant, and then like the determination in the eyes, put the key in. At the time of opening the door, he took the baton of the security guard and ran in with a random wave. The security guard also pinched the walkie-talkie in his hand and followed in nervously. However, there was nothing but darkness and silence in the room. Mo Shanghua came in after 2 people and turned on the light. No one lived in the house for 5 years. The house was full of dust. She wiped it on the tea table with her hand, and her body was black. The security guard did not return to his senses, and his face was surprised. "What's the matter?" Di Yen, who was also in a daze for a while, first came back to his mind. He glanced at the security guard and said, "We all know that people haven't come back for 5 years. Don't you understand? It's clear that I haven't come back for 5 years, and I can't get into the prescription. so I casually find an excuse to find someone to unlock the lock. The security guard can't help flashing some anger on his face when he hears the speech. However, when he glances at Hua Hua's indifferent eyes on the street, he looks back, turns around and walks out. It's my bad luck. Then he closed the door and went down. Di Yen in the hand still holds that guard's baton, at the moment complexion also some not very good. Seeing this, the flower on the street simply put down some slight depression in her heart and said, I don't have any money on me. I can't help it. I can't help you. Wrong is wrong. Even if she is proud, she will not admit her mistake. Di Yan's complexion eased a little, then frowned again. How can you talk so queer? Mo Shanghua was surprised to find that she was used to the way of speaking when she was in the kingdom of God. Di Yan just now in the outside also a pair of mediocre appearance, but at the moment I don't know how, the mind is particularly sharp, your body's breath is also some wrong, isn't it? The flower eyes on the street raised a little vigilance, stepped back a few steps. What do you mean? Di Yan narrowed his eyes and stared at the flowers on the street for a moment. Then, his words were amazing. I want to fight with you. Flowers on the street, I don't know why. She felt strange when she didn't beat her. However, it does not mean that she is in the mood to waste time with the people in front of her. Mo Shanghua directly came forward to open the door, and said with no expression, I'm going to have a rest, please. Di Yen, but as if can't see the action of the flower on the street, full-faced disgust of looking at the room full of dust. Can you still live in this room? Mo Shanghua's eyes not good glanced at the person in front of him, and his lips slightly picked. Do you need me to complain about you now? No need, excuse me. Di Yen immediately as was trampled on the tail, received the full face of disgust. Don't have to repeat, automatically went out. Mo Shanghua was about to close the door, but Di Yen, who had left, came in again. My name is Di Yen. If you have anything to do, there is my contact information under the community. Mo Flower eyes flashed a touch of impatience, raised his hand will close the door. Di Yen busy head back. Do not forget to add a sentence. Mo Miss Good Night, do not casually complain. With the door slamming shut, will also Di Yan's voice completely blocked out. Looking at the room still full of dust in front of me, I went to my bedroom and found my ID card, bank card, mobile phone and other things. After checking, my mobile phone was not damaged except the power. So I took these things out of the door. Fortunately, the deposit in the bank card is still there. Mo Shanghua can finally find a hotel to stay and rest for a while. The identity of her previous life is to be kept secret, so she has two identities. One is a doctor of medicine, which is used to walk around the base, and the other is just an ordinary citizen. She is often placed in a private apartment, which is not commonly used. I didn't expect that she really didn't have a useful day. However, her two identities were handled under the above instructions. Her previous life was clearly dead in the explosion. Why didn't these identities be cancelled? Is it better to know? There are Yan Beiqing and Xia Sizu. How are they now? What else is worth her coming in this era? A series of questions surged into my heart, like a thread without a head, wrapping her whole body, almost breathless. With such heavy thoughts, even if she was temporarily settled down, she still couldn't sleep. It was not until noon the next day that she went to sleep with her eyes full of green shadows. The speed of modern science and technology is amazing. After waking up at night, she began to understand the development of science and technology and life in the past 5 years. It's not that she has nothing to do, but that if she wants to quickly reintegrate into modern society, and if she wants to settle down temporarily, she must reintegrate. No matter what the current situation of Yan Xizhou in Yanbei City is, she must cheer up and think that her depression will only drag her into the abyss. Beiqing, Xizhou, Yunwu, no matter what, I will find you. Mo Shanghua calmed down. With this idea, she stayed at home for another day to understand the current social development. Today's society is very different from that before her crossing, and even develops rapidly. A lot of small technology products have been integrated into people's lives: code scanning payment, intelligent recognition, are extremely fast and convenient. However, the thing with the key held by Diyen of that property last night has not been released in the world. It should not be owned by ordinary people. I'm afraid it's not simple. And the security guard said casually last night that she was suspected to be a cross-dresser. It seems to be a modern advanced technology, which can change its appearance at will according to the way it wants. At present, it is still in the hands of a high-level enterprise, and it is not affordable for ordinary people. Most importantly, though, it doesn't seem to be on the market yet. A strong intuition suddenly emerged in my heart. The flower on the street sat up straight, and her eyes were tiny. Looks like she needs to go back to her apartment. Think of here, don't stop, quickly get up to the apartment. To the apartment, she did not go home, but went straight to the property, named to find Diyen. The lady at the front desk didn't ask much, so she went to inform Diyen to come. This Diyen looks handsome and handsome. There are always young ladies and sisters coming to look for her. The front desk ladies are used to it. Diyen did not let Emo Shanghua wait for a long time. Different from yesterday's slovenly image, today's Diyen has put on a formal suit and appears to be more mature and handsome. Miss Emo, it's you. See, let him deep impression of Emo Shanghua. Diyen lip side show a polite smile. Emo Shanghua's expressionless glance at Diyen in front of him said, "Don't you want to fight? Right now." Now. Diyen some surprised pick eyebrow, face quite some embarrassed, "But I'm still at work." "Oh." Emo Shanghua light should be a body, turn around and go, voice slightly raised, "Then you go to help me see the door lock, seems to be replaced." "It's the door lock again. It's time to find another one." Diyen heart silently vomit a sentence, "Go back to make complaints about, just hurriedly catch up." Just close the door. Diyen haven't had time to speak. Emo Shanghua face to face is a fist attack. Diyen's pupil shrinks, so he dodges. Emo Shanghua continues to fight. Diyen did not dare to relax, quickly hit the whole body of the spirit to deal with. The more he hit, the more frightened he was. It was clear that he was just a beautiful woman in front of him, but he didn't lose everything in strength and speed. Even, there was a hint of strength that he hadn't touched. As for the strange and familiar power of the previous induction, I can't see it at all. However, even if he can see some tricks, it doesn't mean that he can beat the people in front of him. However, after more than 10 minutes of fighting, he gradually became a little bit unable to hold on, with a thin sweat on his forehead. No, if it goes on like this, he can't find out anything. Think of here, Diyen Mao color is more serious, gas sink Dan field between, on the hand slightly used some slight spirit power. Sure enough. Emo Shanghua seems to have expected that as soon as the spiritual power in his hand has just been urged, she has grasped his weakness and directly dodged around him, then kicked his knee. Diyen really wants to hide, but his speed is obviously not as fast as Emo Shanghua. The next moment, Emo Shanghua has already taken advantage of this opportunity to twist his arm with his backhand and force him to kneel on the ground. What is your skill? It's not like psychic power at all. Diyen does not have the slightest unconvinced move, especially curious try to turn to ask. Emo Shanghua did not answer, but suddenly got into his armpit, across a layer of suit shirt. I do not know what to grasp. Originally also face no different color. Diyen instant face changed greatly. The next moment, an amazing scene happened in front of Emo Shanghua. In front of his eyes, he was a handsome young man with a height of 1 meter and 8 meters, but his figure was shrinking in an instant, and he became a 7 or 8-year-old boy who only went to the street. The boy's eyes are delicate, his lips are red and his teeth are white. If you look closely, it seems that he is just a miniature of the tall and handsome youth. It's just that this dress is obviously not a miniaturized version. The shrinking of his body led to the collapse of his original suit. The suit coat dropped directly to his knees, while his trousers fell directly. Along with it fell a round object tied to the shoulder. The strapped shoulder strap is very thin, and it seems that it will not be found if it is close to the skin. The round object is only half the size of a fist, less than 1 centimeter thick. It will never be easy to find if it is hidden under the armpit. What's more familiar is that the surface of this thing seems to be metal. It's light and not rigid. What's more important is that there is some fluctuation of spiritual power in it. No pants of Dian, less than palm big white face has been red as cooked shrimp, but a CMO Shanghua picked up the thing, or very nervous to reach for enough. You give me back the thing. Mo Shanghua simply lifts that thing high. Dian's height just reaches Mo Shanghua's waist, and he can't reach it at all. His little face suddenly turns red and black. He almost gnashed his teeth, young age, but it is difficult to flash in the eyes of a bit of cold. Back to me. Give it back, of course. Mo Shanghua held the thing in one hand, lowered his eyes and said, "Tell me, why does this thing have spiritual power injection?" Dian immediately stopped, slightly baby fat face on a solemn, with the previous appearance of that adult is clearly two people. Mo flower mao light micro turn, also not anxious to ask, so light drooping eyes looking at him, waiting for his mouth. At a young age, he can disguise himself. Unfortunately, there are always some flaws. He inadvertently reveals that he is just a child. Dian seemed to be tangled for a long time, then he looked up at the flowers on the street and said, "Since you can tear them down, you should also know that it's the product developed by D, one of the 4 families. The 4 families were originally the Guwu family. What's so strange about Huilingli?" At this point, he turned his mouth, and his eyes were a little proud. Besides, this thing was originally developed by me in combination with some things. If my father didn't agree to go on the market, how could my young master personally wear it out and prove it to him? For families? In recent days, we have enough information to know about the 4 families, and we are not surprised at the moment. The only surprise was the little boy in front of him. Mo Shanghua squats down and returns that thing to Dian again, saying, "You are very young, but you have quite a bit of ability." Dian quite some reserve AO of slightly raised chin, then want to take that thing back again. Mo Shanghua pressed his hand, and his eyes swept around his bare legs. "Are you sure you want to take it now?" Dian is very shy when she is young, and her face turns red again. The flowers on the street flash slightly, and suddenly think of Zaya Sizu. Xiao Xizhou is only 3 years old now. Sometimes he doesn't speak very clearly, but he is always a little kid. Just like his father, he always wants to be an upright man. He is so cute. She was disappointed at the thought. Dian takes that thing in hand. Nuzui, Wei. You haven't said, why do you know spirit power? As far as I know, few people in this world can know about it except for our 4 Guwu families. What's more, why can I only feel a little of your spiritual power occasionally? She has just gathered qi in the kingdom of God. She can let the spiritual power circulate in her body at most. She has no other ability and can't feel it all the time. Mo Shanghua sighed silently in her heart, and there was no difference on her face. You are young and your spiritual power is low, so you can't feel it naturally. What did you just use? Is it the legendary internal power? Dian, like Zaya Sizu, seems to have endless questions. Since Dian said frankly, Mo Shanghua simply admitted, it's true. Dian brow some tangled twist into a ball, staring at the flowers on the street for a long time, and then said, why are you missing for 5 years? On the street flower mao bottom cluster ran across a touch of dim, voice cold down. With you what? Dian seems to find that he asked a little more, so he turned his head. Mo Shanghua's eyes flashed over his trousers that fell to the ground. After thinking about it, he said, I need to clean up here. I'm asking someone to send you a suit of clothes. Dian immediately full face unwilling, but looked at his present appearance, or default down. Called hourly workers to clean up the apartment, Mo Shanghua and forced to carry Dian to the mall to buy a fit of children's wear. I don't know why, it's a child who has no blood relationship with him, but looking at Dian dressed neatly in front of him, Mo Shanghua feels a little relieved, as if this is his own child. It is Dian, clenched in the hand of that can be for him to become adult-like utensils, small mouth slightly pursed. Mo Shanghua came forward to help him sort out his clothes, and then went to settle the account. Then he squatted down and said, "Okay, now I'll take you home. I'm not going back." Di Yen is like to be sent to the den, frowning and protesting. "My experiment has not been completed yet." Emo Shanghua looked down at her and said, "If you really care about your experiment, you won't come out with me." Her eyes are full of light, and she seems to be able to see through all people's thoughts. Di Yan's voice immediately lowered down, "A long time, just wait. I don't know why." Originally, he didn't want to, but he didn't know why. At first, he was resisting. Later, he didn't know how to come out with her. It was clear that she was the most stubborn and her parents couldn't help him. Emo Shanghua suddenly reached out and pinched his baby's fat cheek. His eyes were a little dim and his lips were silent. Di Yen. He was confused and angry, but he didn't know why he couldn't get angry when he saw the flower on the street. The little adult came forward and said, "Do you remember something unhappy?" The flowers on the street just shook their heads, and their eyes faded away, leaving only their eyes full of indifference. "I don't have to send you back." Di Yen has not had time to be happy, just listen to her and continue, "But I want to see your family." Di Yen, no matter how precocious he was still puzzled by the woman's contradictory ideas. "Why do you have to see my family?" Di Yen frowned. "In other words, what's your purpose?" In this respect, Xiaodian is quite defensive. "At a young age I know a lot." Emo Shanghua li Di Yen one eye, in the heart also quite a bit surprised. Di Yen raised his chin slightly, and his pride was as if he was born with it. Emo Shanghua seems to see his resolute attitude, simply get up and go out. "Just, since you don't want to, I'm trying to find a way." Di Yen thought that Emo Shanghua was just deliberately using such a method to stimulate him. Unexpectedly, she didn't turn her head back. He couldn't control it, so he called out, "Stop. Flowers on the street, if you don't hear it, still press the elevator door." Di Yen, quite some annoyed bit to bite teeth, hurriedly stepped a pair of small short legs to chase past. However, the elevator door closed before he arrived, and he had to wait for the next one. When Di Yen was out of breath, she was sitting in a milk tea shop on the first floor facing the elevator exit, drinking a cup of milk tea in one hand. "See him come, Emo Shanghua will hand another cup in the past, said, 'This is for you, children should prefer to drink yogurt.'" "I'm not a kid." Di Yen did not answer, called a small walk toward the mall. It seems that a precocious child like him doesn't like to be called a child. In addition to the small boat, Emo Shanghua has no patience to coax the children, but now I don't know why, very calmly and patiently walking behind Di Yen, not slow to follow. Small Di Yen also won't stop, so taught him not to take off baby fat face, toward a direction then walk. Which nerve was touched? Children are hard to coax. However, it is impossible for the child to go on the street like this. Besides, this is also the key to whether she can find a way to go back. No matter what, she can't let him have an accident. I totally forget that this is a genius who can develop small technology by himself, disguise himself as an adult and live together with adults for a few days. I thought that the child's anger was just a matter of a while, but Emo Shanghua didn't expect that the child walked so obstinately for half an hour. Until he came to the high building, he pressed his lips tightly and refused to open his mouth. The flower on the street clearly saw the sign on the building. D's Corporation. The child, after all, came with her. Emo Shanghua's mood is a little complicated at the moment. She squats down, puts her hand on Di Yan's small thin shoulder, slows down her voice as much as possible and says, "I really want to use your mind, but to tell you the truth, there are some feelings that I can't say. In a word, I really have something important." After a pause, she breathed out, "It's more important than my life." Yan Beiqing, Yan Xizhou and Yunwu are all more important than her life in her eyes. She had nothing else to wish for, and no matter what method she used, she must find a way to find them. Di Yen, young age, but as if can understand the words of flowers on the same, eyes revealed a bit of deep thinking. "I was about to open my mouth when something happened." Dozens of men in black clothes and trousers suddenly surrounded them. Now it's evening. It's getting dark. It's the peak of the evening, but it's obvious that the number of pedestrians is decreasing. No one dares to get close to them or look at them more. A man in a suit came slowly, surrounded by people in black. He has a handsome face, but his face is as cold as a blade. Especially when he sees the intimacy between Mo Xianghua and Dian, he gets colder and colder. Dian, come here. Dian see a man, his more taut mouth refused to open. But if you look carefully, you can find that there are some similarities between the eyebrows and eyes of two men. Mo Xianghua is clear in the heart, pulling Dian to stand up. Are you Dian's father? When Di Xing, a cool man, hears the words, he glances at the delicate face of the flower in the street and looks back at Dian. Do you know how worried your mother is about you? You're going to come home with me anyway today. Dian's slightly fleshy face taut more tight, a hand quietly pulling the corner of the flower, pretending to calm the mouth. I come today is to go back, otherwise I won't let you find me. But I also have demands. Di Xing black face looked at one eye, he tightly tugged at the corner of the flower. Say, what do you want in the end? This word is to say to Mo Xianghua. Mo Xianghua calmed down and looked at Di Xing calmly, as if he was not afraid. Mr. Di Xing should know that it's not suitable to talk here. Di Xing stared at the flowers on the street for a moment, then nodded coldly, okay. Obviously, at the moment in Di Xing's eyes, Mo Xianghua impressively is to control little Di Yan firmly in the hand, not to achieve the goal will not easily let people go. 10 minutes later, Mo Xianghua was invited into the president's office, while Di Yan was always with her, like a small tail. Di Xing's cold eyes looked at the flowers sitting on the street opposite him and said, he's staying with you these days? The tone of questioning made Mo Xianghua very unhappy and frowned. I have known him for a long time, and I didn't use your son to do anything. I just have some questions to ask. Go ahead, please. Di Xing's eyes crossed with a touch of vigilance, and his face was not good. At that time, he would never have thought that the person in front of him was a woman whom he could not afford to offend. Mo Xianghua's eyes swept around Di Yan's face and said, I want to know what origin you have with mainland China. The person in front of her is obviously from tomorrow. She really doesn't have to beat around the bush. Sure enough, Di Xing's face changed the next second, and there was a flash of surprise in his eyes. Even Di Yan frowned tightly, turned his head and looked at her in surprise. I never told you, why do you know? Mo Xianghua didn't explain. She stared at Di Xing in front of her eyes. Di Xing quickly settled down and quietly released his mental power to test, but he didn't feel the breath of half-cultivation in her. At the same time, he felt a little uneasy. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.